Hello and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Today we look at a Manchester gang involved in a robbery where a garage boss was pistol whipped and gagged for rare Porsche parts have been jailed. The violent armed robbery was carried out at a garage in Leeds. The garage owner was repairing a red Porsche Carrera GT valued between £600,000 and £800,000 when he was targeted. A man called Fazal Wahseem had taken ownership of a number of parts for the Porsche in settlement of a debt owed by a previous owner. Mr. Wahseem and another man, Owen Walcott, visited the premises earlier that month to arrange selling the parts to the car's existing owner. The offer was declined, but during their time at the garage, they became aware of where Porsche parts were being stored out of the view at the business. Shortly after 3:30 PM that day, two of the men visited the workshop and asked about the cost of a car repair. They returned to a white van parked nearby, which was seen on CCTV driving back and forth, waiting for the area to clear of other people. The van then reversed up the roller door of the unit. The two men entered and confronted the victim. One pointed a gun at his head and threatened him, demanding the red part. The victim was pushed back onto an office chair and his hands bound with cable ties. While the two robbers returned to the workshop, the victim tried to escape but was threatened with being shot and forced back into the office. He was pistol whipped about the head, causing injuries, and was struck with a machete, causing a deep laceration to his left side. When the victim was hit with the gun, what appeared to be bullets fell from the weapon onto the floor. He was gagged with duct tape, blindfolded and taped to the chair. The pair then loaded Porsche parts worth £140,000 into the van and left the scene. The victim managed to free himself from the chair and raised the alarm with a member of staff at a neighbouring business who contacted the police and ambulance. The victim needed stitches to the wound to his side and other treatment for the injuries to his head. The vehicle, which was later recovered in Manchester, had been on false plates at the time of the offence. The Porsche was picked up by cameras on the M62 westbound after the robbery, bearing its correct registration. Further inquiries showed the van had been hired on the day of the robbery by Owen Walcott. The van hire firm identified Mr. Walcott and said he had initially turned down a more unidentifiable sign written van and waited for a plain one to become available. Phone inquiries showed a number linked to Mr. Walcott had contacted a Porsche garage in Manchester just days after the robbery. The caller had asked for prices for numerous Porsche Carrera GT parts, and the dealership was able to provide officers with a full list of those due to the type of car being relatively unique. Further inquiries linked Mr. Walcott and Mr. Wahseem to the offence, along with Mr. Walcott's brother, Harry Mahoney. They were arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to commit robbery. Detectives linked three others, Jenna Davies, her cousin Mark Davies and Kaya Kennedy, to the robbery. Mr. Davies and Mr. Kennedy were identified as the two men who had carried out the robbery in Leeds. All six were charged to appear at Leeds magistrates, but Mr. Walcott and Mr. Wahseem failed to attend and went on the run. Mr. Walcott was located in Bulgaria and was eventually arrested by Bulgarian police and extradited back to the UK. Mr. Wahseem from Sheffield is still wanted by police. Mark Davies pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit robbery along with Section 20 assault and possession of an imitation firearm. Mr. Mahoney admitted the conspiracy charge. Mr. Walcott, Mr. Kennedy and Jenna Davies pleaded not guilty but were convicted following a trial. Mr. Davies, 36, of Pendragon Place, Failsworth, Manchester, was sentenced to 13 years for the robbery conspiracy, with concurrent terms of 43 months and 16 months respectively for the firearm and assault offences. Mr. Kennedy, 22, of Brewster Street, Manchester, was given 12 years and 6 months for the conspiracy with the concurrent terms of 11 years for Section 18 assault and 6 months for possession of an offensive weapon. Mr. Mahoney, 28, of Moorfield Drive, Hyde, Manchester, was sentenced to 10 years and 9 months for the conspiracy. Mr. Walcott, 42, of Kingsbridge Road, Manchester, was sentenced to 13 years imprisonment for the conspiracy to commit robbery at Leeds Crown Court. Detective Inspector Phil Jackson of Leeds District CID said this group were responsible for planning and carrying out a violent robbery during which the victim, a completely legitimate businessman, was seriously assaulted and put through a frightening ordeal. So what are your thoughts about this Manchester gang which sought out a garage in Leeds over its stored unique Porsche Carrera GT car parts? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay safe.